What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the WBC Heavyweight World Championship, and this fight is going to be Saturday, April 23rd, from the Wembley Stadium in London, England, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on ESPN pay-per-view. And to get into both fighters' resumes, Tyson Fury, fighting out of England, holds a record of 31 wins with no defeats and 1 draw, with 22 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 1 by BoxRec and is the current WBC Heavyweight World Champion, and he is the former unified WBO, WBA, and IBF Heavyweight World Champion. So, throughout Tyson Fury's career, he has held all 4 titles. But to first of all, the list is 1 draw. As most people know who have followed Tyson Fury's career, that 1 draw came by split decision in a very controversial fight versus Deontay Wilder, where he got dropped twice, but many people still thought he won, myself included. And then, to list some of his best victories, in his other 2 fights versus Deontay Wilder, and his rematch versus Wilder, he knocked him out and dominated him. And in their trilogy, it was a war and my pick for fight of the year, but Fury still got a knockout win. And now to list some of his other best wins, he has a unanimous decision victory and a knockout win over Derek Chisora, a knockout win over Steve Cunningham, a knockout win over Christian Hammer, a unanimous decision victory over Vladimir Klitschko, which is one of his best victories, probably his best. He also has a unanimous decision win over Otto Wallin. He also has a unanimous decision win over Francesco Pianetta, and he has a knockout win over Tom Schwartz. And to get his opponent's resume, Dillian Whyte, fighting out of England as well, holds a record of 28 wins with 2 defeats and 19 wins coming by way of knockout. He's actually currently not ranked by BoxRec due to inactivity since his last fight was over a year ago, but still he ranks amongst the top 5 in the heavyweight division, and he is the current interim WBC Heavyweight World Champion, and he has really been in line for this WBC title shot for a while now, but he's finally getting it. But to list, first of all, his 2 defeats. He has a knockout loss to Anthony Joshua earlier on in his career, and same with Joshua earlier on in his career. He also has a knockout loss to Alexander Povetkin, which was my pick for, I believe, knockout of the year for 2020, and it was really one of the great upsets as well. But now to list some of his best wins. He has a knockout win over Alexander Povetkin, and that was in their rematch. Very solid performance by him, and that was in his last fight, actually, taking place, I believe, in March of 2020. And to list some of his other best wins, he has a unanimous decision win over dazzling David Allen. He has a split decision win and a knockout win over Derek Chisora. He also has a unanimous decision victory over Robert Helenius, and that win nowadays is looking really good since Helenius is coming off 2 solid wins. He also has a knockout win over former WBA regular heavyweight champion Lucas Brown. He also has a unanimous decision win over former WBO heavyweight champion Joseph Parker. He also has a unanimous decision win over current WBC Bridgerweight champion Oscar Rivas. He also has a unanimous decision win as well over Mario Swak, who's a former world title challenger. So in my opinion, this fight is actually a really big and interesting fight that I'm actually leaning in favor of the defending heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. This fight is a really big fight, as I mentioned before. Dillian Whyte, interim champion, highly rated fighter, very, very good, very, very solid, powerful, strong, whatever. However, for Tyson Fury, very popular fighter, very good boxer, big guy, roughly 270 pounds, although this one I believe he might have weighed 267, somewhere around there, 264. Anywhere from I think 265 to 267 he weighed in for this fight. I can't really remember the exact number, but still it was less than his last fight against Wilder and even the fights before, so he's slimming down a bit, and he looked in solid shape, and that's for his build. I know that Tyson Fury naturally just doesn't look in solid shape, but for him, he looks like he trained hard, came in good shape, and this is being built up as one of the biggest heavyweight fights in British boxing, and it definitely is. Dillian Whyte, he's really been, as I mentioned before, in line for this shot or at the WBC title for years. He was the number one or number two contender for so long. And what really almost put an end to that was his knockout loss to Alexander Povetkin. But then he came right back and then defeated Povetkin and got his interim title back, and is obviously his really basically mandatory spot. But it all really started when he beat Oscar Rivas for that final eliminator and for the interim title. But even before that, he was really in line to fight like Deontay Wilder back when he had the belt and whatnot. But now we're finally going to see it, and I'm very excited for this fight. Um, I mean, I honestly don't know if White is going to be tougher than Wilder because, I mean, honestly, White has a really good resume. He's beaten a lot of really, really good fighters, but his chin is really, really susceptible. I mean, we've seen in a lot of his fights him getting hurt, or in his biggest fights, actually, I should say, him getting hurt, him getting dropped, and stuff like that. But, I mean, he still battles back, but you got to remember both of his losses were by uppercut knockout. I know Fury isn't really known for his uppercut, but we could definitely see Fury utilizing that shot because he knows how open Dillian Whyte is to those shots because of his guard. Yeah, I mean, Dillian Whyte, he really does have a very, very sort of higher guard than a lot of fighters, and it really leaves his chin wide open. I know a lot of fighters use that guard, but they usually have some other way to defend those shots. But Whyte, he's always getting hit with that uppercut. We saw him get dropped against Oscar Rivas in one of his bigger fights. We saw him get knocked out by Povetkin, and we saw him get knocked out brutally by Anthony Joshua as well when they fought. So, I mean, he really has to look out for that uppercut, and that's for Tyson Fury. He's got to utilize that as one of his main punches. And Dillian Whyte, he's got to watch out for that. I mean, he knows that he's been caught with those shots, and he's really got to watch out. But, yeah, I mean, both these fighters are like giants in the heavyweight division, really, really high-ranked fighters. Basically the number one versus either the number 4 or the number 5, depending on where you rank Wilder and Whyte. But, yeah, I mean, the thing with Dillian Whyte, I mean, he doesn't have Deontay Wilder's power. However, he does have really, really good power himself. However, he's a bit more sloppy than a lot of other fighters. But, I mean, Wilder, in my opinion, is a bit more, like, explosive and calculated when he throws his punches. Dillian Whyte looks a bit more tired when he throws them. Wilder's sort of like a windmill that never stops. But, I mean, even in Fury's last fight, Wilder still looked a bit sloppy. But more onto these two fighters, Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury. I mean, Dillian Whyte, he has shown in the past that his gas tank isn't the greatest. However, Tyson Fury, he has shown that he can go 12 rounds without breaking a sweat. We saw that many times throughout his career, specifically in his comeback fight against Pianeta, when he took a almost nearly 4-year layoff after fighting Vladimir Klitschko. So, yeah, I really think it's going to be the boxing of Tyson Fury and the speed of him. And I know that usually we're used to seeing Tyson Fury as a boxer, but nowadays with Sugar Hill, he's been coming forward. He's been fighting better, coming forward actually. So I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see him counterpunch. We're going to see him coming forward. We're really going to see Tyson Fury show the different styles that he could utilize throughout this fight and really show why he is one of the best heavyweights or the best heavyweight in the world, possibly, depending on where you rank Usyk and Fury. But, yeah, and maybe even showing why he's one of the best fighters in the world, as many people have him on their pound-for-pound list as well. So, yeah, just to break down this fight round by round, I really think early on, Tyson Fury will really start to figure out Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte might start to come forward and really try and press Tyson Fury. He might start with shots to the body, trying to soften Fury up, and really try and go to shots upstairs. But really, in my opinion, the only chance that Dillian Whyte has to win this fight is a puncher's chance. I can't really see him winning a boxing match or even just scoring more points and landing more cleaner and more effective, more judgeable shots than Tyson Fury, because Fury, he could be technical, he could brawl, he could come forward, obviously, put pressure. I mean, he's really got the whole package. However, he has a lot of speed, great timing, great accuracy. However, his power is a bit more lacking, but since he's a big guy, nonetheless, he'll hit super hard. And considering that Dillian Whyte doesn't really have the greatest chin compared to a lot of other heavyweights, I mean, I just said before, he does lack in power, but compared to all his other attributes, his power is lower than like his speed, his accuracy, his footwork, obviously. But still, he has pretty decent and pretty good power. I mean, you look, he has 22 knockouts and 31 wins. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Tyson Fury's not a power puncher." I mean, he hits hard. Being 6'9", 200 and roughly 70 pounds, 65 pounds, whatever. He's still a big guy. And we saw what he did to Wilder. And we saw what he did to a lot of his other fighters. But he could box. I mean, he's shown that he could box. He could knock out guys. He's shown that he's a real world-class heavyweight, and I think we're really going to see why in this fight. And really continuing on with sort of my breakdown on this fight. As I mentioned before, the first round will really be a feel-out round, but I do see Fury winning it because I do see him sort of landing some more jabs than Dillian Whyte and really starting to set up where he can land these shots and really to find his openings to where he could land these counters and whatnot. And really it's just going to be a setup round for really both fighters, but I think Fury will have a bit more success. However, rounds 2, 3, and 4, I really think Tyson Fury will be the better technician than Dillian Whyte. I really think he's going to outwork Dillian Whyte, land the better and more effective shots. And although this fight is a really fun and competitive fight on paper, being that both these guys are world ranked top 5, most definite. I mean, I really just think Tyson Fury is levels ahead of Dillian Whyte, and I mean that's really with his speed, accuracy, boxing ability. I really think he's just going to just be too fast for Dillian Whyte. But I mean, who knows if Dillian Whyte could land the shot like Deontay Wilder did against Fury in like the 4th round, where he really got him hurt and dropped him twice in that round. I mean, it could definitely change up the trajectory of this fight, and it could lead to a new world champion. But as far as I know, I mean, I'm picking Tyson Fury to win, and I really see him being comfortably ahead. And like I said, I see from rounds 2, 3, and 4 him really starting to outwork Dillian Whyte and being ahead after 4 rounds, maybe 40-36, 39-37. Judges might give him the first round because I think it will be a feel-out round. Yeah, I mean, the other rounds I really think Fury will outwork Whyte. And the rounds after that, I think Fury will start to find his openings. But who knows, Whyte could sneak out a couple rounds here and there, maybe have a better performance in some rounds. Fury might be sort of lacking in some, doing better in others. I mean, I really think that Fury will just outwork Dillian Whyte. And as I mentioned before, I could see Tyson Fury coming forward. I could see him boxing off the back foot. I could see him fighting a mid-range and even possibly brawling with Dillian Whyte. However, Dillian Whyte is really going to be the one trying to fight possibly at mid-range, maybe coming forward sometimes, and I don't really think he's going to have a super amount of success, but he could land some decent shots on Fury, but I ultimately don't see him having much success in total because as the rounds go on, I see Tyson Fury starting to break down Dillian Whyte, and I actually think he's going to stop Dillian Whyte. As I mentioned before, I don't think Whyte has the greatest chin in the heavyweight division. We saw him get knocked down and dropped multiple times, but from round 6 to round 10, I really think like the mid to late rounds, I see Tyson Fury really starting to break down Dillian Whyte and starting to land the shots more clean, more effectively, and really starting to find more openings. And he'll start to land the shots more clean. He could possibly knock out Dillian Whyte with one punch, hurt him, drop him with like an uppercut or something like that, and really just start to piece Dillian Whyte up and start to land his fast combinations and maybe get a standing stoppage, knocking him down multiple times, leading to the referee waving it off, or just knocking him out plain with the referee waving it off. Nonetheless, I see Tyson Fury getting a knockout victory and staying undefeated, and I think he will get that knockout win over Dillian Whyte, as I mentioned before. So overall, I believe that Tyson Fury will defeat Dillian Whyte by knockout, and once again, I believe that the stoppage will happen from round 6 to round 10. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.